Welcome back into our Cheltenham preview, and this is the day 4. This is the Magners Gold Cup. This is the part where we dictate this part of the show exclusively to the blue ribbon of steeplechasing. 4-1 joint favourites at the moment with Betfair, Clan Des Obeaux, Presenting Percy. Last year's winner, Native River 6-1, Kem Boy 10s, Bells Hill 12s, Might Bite is the same, Album Photo 14s, Thistlecrack 16s. It's 20s and bigger the rest, but we will be talking about those at bigger prices. In order to get through as many as possible here, I'm going to go straight in with Presenting Percy Davy Ace. We've seen him once since last year's RSA. That was in the Galmoy Hurdle. Since then, he's been to Galway, where they turned the fences around to give him that left-handed experience. It's been quite a story, this horse.
Yeah, it has. And he's got at least 2 and probably 3 more schooling sessions to come, according to owner Philip Reynolds. Obviously not according to trainer Pat Kelly, because he doesn't speak to the media. But yeah, I'm not so worried about the fact this horse hasn't run over fences, because he's gone round on rails at Cheltenham the last 2 festivals. I just think that in terms of the figures, he does have to come back and post a personal best and then some in order to win a Gold Cup.
Martin?
I think that's a fair comment. He hasn't yet done it in a field as deep as what the Gold Cup field will be, so it will be the best race that he's ever running. His performance in last year's RSA, you can't argue with that. He did everything so easily, and he did beat some good horses that day. But I think when you look at his overall, when a horse wins the RSA like that, it doesn't immediately entitle them to favouritism in a Gold Cup, because you've then got to go and prove yourself the next season against the very best around at all ages, if you like, and the non-novices. And he hasn't done that. It's as simple as that. And I think he finds himself as the price that he is kind of by default, because other horses have let their end down along the way as the season's gone on. But his Cheltenham record, obviously fantastic. He looked as good as ever in the Galmoy, but I agree with Dave that ultimately, in terms of the bare bones of his form, he does have to improve and produce a career best if he's going to win the Gold Cup.
It's just the one run, it's over hurdles, but last year he obviously had more runs, but he was winning 3 mile 5 handicap chases. It was called an unconventional route in last year, and it didn't worry anyone, did it?
He's been nothing but conventional, but just following on from what the boys have said, I think what they're saying is he's 4-1 now. He could be 8-1 on the day, and I believe that's distinctly possible with this horse, unless he does something sparkling on these gallops that presumably no one's going to see apart from connections close to him. And
David Russell doesn't ride him on those either, does he?
Well, I can't see a reason to back him now at 4-1. I just can't see it.
Is the market? It seems to me, from writing about it over the last couple of weeks, that the market strength of Clan Des Obeaux and Presenting Percy, one is weak and the other is strong.
Yeah, Clan Des Obeaux has got huge momentum. I mean, all the people who, like me, to be honest, like a lot of us, said he was a flat track horse. He may well be. He might just be that he's a better, stronger, much more capable horse than he was last year. And I just think he's the horse with momentum. But I do think the race is wide open.
Right, Paul Nichols then touched on the horse. Clan Des Obeaux. Paul Nichols won the Gold Cup in 99 with Seymour Business, 09 with Corso Star. Will it be 19 with Clan Des Obeaux? What do you say about his Cheltenham record? I don't personally see it as much of a problem, Martin.
I think I'd be more worried about the trip at Cheltenham. He's a horse that clearly doesn't lack for speed. You go back to last season, he was competing mainly over intermediate distances, 2.5 mile, 2 mile 5. He's always been a strong traveller, and he canters his way through this race, but through the King George, and wins it easily, and it is a very, very good performance. But we've seen stacks of horses over the years that can produce this type of performance in a King George and not reproduce it at Cheltenham over the longer trip on a very different track. They are 2 extremely, completely contrasting races, really. And he's shortened up enough, in my opinion. I thought he was a big price on the back of the King George. He was about 10-1, I think, because everyone took that immediate view. Will he repeat at Cheltenham? He's shortened up to a point now where I couldn't back him.
Paul Nichols has proved over the years, not for the last 10 obviously, he took Silviniaco Conti there a couple of times since then, but not many other Gold Cup horses, but for conditioning one for the Gold Cup, he He's right up there.
Yeah, I just think this track thing, what Martin says about the trip, I think is a real worry.
Yep.
That especially if there is rain and it becomes a native river-style Gold Cup, i.e. a stamina test. But if we can just look at his Racing Post ratings for when he ran over at Cheltenham, he carried top weight in the Caspian Caviar in December last year. In December 2017.
Yep.
Racing Post had him running to 162. Either side of running 16 to 164 when third to Mike Byte at Aintree or when winning at Haydock. When he was half a length second to Whisper on New Year's Day in the Dipper, New Year's Day 2017. He ran to 158 that day. He'd run to 151 on his previous start when he won the that Berkshire Novices Chase, the Grade 2
at Newbury
race at the Ladbrokes Trophy meeting. So this idea that his performances at Cheltenham, like in the context of the horse that he was, not the context of the horse that he is now, in the context of the horse he was, they're completely firmly in line with what he's been doing on flat tracks, whether they're left-handed, right-handed. It's bogus.
I'm completely with you. Also, he ran in a Triumph, which was a really hot Triumph. That was his 5th birthday, that Dipper Novices Chase. Basically, he was still a young horse, and he almost got left at the start in that Caspian Caviar Gold Cup. I think you treat Clan Des Obeaux this year compared to Clan Des Obeaux, everything that's gone before him. To me, I think he's going to win the Gold Cup, but we'll find out in not too long. One horse who has won the Gold Cup is Native River. He bids to become the first since Best Mate to win Gold Cups in successive years. Dave Neveson, is he going to do it?
Well, I think he needs rain and he needs to improve on the King George run on his run this season. But he will improve because Kempton and the King George is not his track. Cheltenham or a stiff test clearly is. And he's the reigning champion. He cannot be ruled out.
Can I just pitch in, while we're watching this piece of VT, there is a horse in shot that you like for this year?
Yeah, I do. But I don't want to...
Just got out of shot.
I don't want to... But he's going to come into shot again, I think, if we run it past. And he's just staying on. I think Annabelle Fly... I hate doing this, but I've had a tenner on him at 66 to 1 because he was staying on in that race. It was at heavy ground. The chances that it would be in heavy ground are unlikely given recent stats, but there is going to be rain. I think he's a really good horse.
Just with Native River in his third at Kempton, the times of last year's Gold Cup, 7 minutes 2.6, and the time of this season's King George was 5 minutes 59.6, so it's another 63 seconds of running. If you think about how, I think he was beaten quite away in the King George, about 13 odd lengths, but he would have been,
and he was jumping out. He was jumping out quite badly.
You can't discount him.
No, quite right too. He came into the race having been third the year before. Just in terms of his profile this year, because we've got to touch on him being the Gold Cup winner and actually major on him. Last year they only got the one run into him, which was at Newbury in the Denman Chase. This year they've gone via Haydock, they've gone via Kempton. Obviously, Newbury was missed owing to the fact that the equine influenza, they then didn't go to Ascot, they didn't see the need to. Yeah. They've got probably the right kind of profile going into it this year.
Yeah, my worry, I've just thought on both starts this season, he's lacked the same enthusiasm that he had in his 2 runs last year. So I would just be a little bit lukewarm on that as to whether he's going to be quite the same horse this season. I think it's a wide open Gold Cup and one that could potentially throw up the sort of surprise that Dave's mentioned, Annabelle Fly. I think Bell's Hill's got a very good chance for Willie Mullins.
What's wrong with Ken Boy as well?
We're going to see Ken Boy right now. We're going to see Ken Boy. It is one of the glaring gaps on Willie Mullins' glittering CV, Dave. Dave Neveson, he's had any number of seconds, including the likes of Jack Adam. On his own was just mugged by Lord Windermere late on 5 years ago. Is this horse the one to do it for him?
I think it might well be. I certainly think he's got every chance and probably should be a little bit shorter in the betting. I think this is really, really impressive. There were lots of Grade 1 horses. The problem is there was a really unlucky horse in this race in Road to Respect, and that's what all the writers and experts have focused on how unlucky Road to Respect is, and devalued the excellent form of the winner. Road to Respect has been unlucky again, possibly made a couple of mistakes and got out. His jockey got outridden by Ruby Walsh in the Irish Gold Cup, and we've focused on that. But this horse destroyed a field of Grade 1 performers in Ireland, so he's entitled, in my view, to be certainly on what we've seen this year of offences, without a doubt, he's the best of the Irish by some way.
Willie Mullins' hand this year. Bells Hill was a horse that we saw in that piece of VT. He then stepped forward. He's a Punchestown Gold Cup winner. He's always been thought of very highly. He ran behind Might Bite in the RSA a couple of years ago. This was just the Smallfield Irish Gold Cup.
Yeah, you'd immediately ask the question, why would Bells Hill therefore turn form around with Kenboy? Well, just to make the point on that race, it was 3 miles, it was good ground at Leopardstown, and they did go steady as well. They came home very quickly. You could see they were bunched on the turn in. I thought Kenboy did them for speed, really. It was also Bells Hill's reappearance, and he might have just needed the run, but also this is a very strong stayer. He's got a cracking attitude, he jumps well, and he stays strongly. So I think in that regard he has the makeup of a Gold Cup winner. Whether he has quite the ability to win one, we'll wait and see, but I certainly don't think he's far below them, and you can see from the way that he digs very deep in the finish to see off or just edge out Road to Respect that day, that he's tremendously game.
OK, more thoughts from Dave and Martin on the Gold Cup in due course. Talk about a couple of the bigger price runners because there are so many to be made a case for, but it's time to head across to Leopardstown now and get the thoughts on the Gold Cup, the big one, with both Kate and Gary. Where are you going, guys?
Thanks, Nick. Yeah, wonderful race in prospect. I'm definitely with Presenting Percy, though. I'd certainly take the point that he's a skinny enough price, probably. I think he'll drift on the day, though. I'd imagine he might get 9-2 or 5-1. Okay, obviously you were hoping that Sizing John might be back to try and regain his crown. Just before we talk about it, what's the latest news on him? Has he gone out to grass?
No, he's doing rehab. He's on the walker twice a day, and he'll be doing that, and he'll start trotting again in a month. And you never know, if we have a wet summer, he might have a summer campaign.
You are joking, eh? He's not going to be going for the Galway Plate, is he?
No, he won't be going for the Galway Plate, but no, he'll. The plan will be just to rehab him away and keep him ticking over during the summer, and hopefully have him out early next season.
Okay, well, hopefully we will see him back. His absence, though, means you can be entirely neutral or if you like, unbiased on the race. Where are you looking at the moment? I
think it might be Willie Mullins' year. He's got some great chances in it. He's won the big race here at Christmas time, and he won the Irish Gold Cup with Bells Hill, and him and Kent Boy, and then he's got Albion Photo as well in the mix. And I think isn't it the one race he hasn't won, and I think it could be his year this year.
He's had 6 seconds in it so far, would you believe?
6 seconds, so definitely it's going to be the one that he is really going to want to win. But like Bells Hill, he showed how versatile he is. He's was 4th on heavy ground last year in the Irish Grand National, and he was a very impressive winner here in the Irish Gold Cup on good to firm.
Yeah, and of course he won the Punchestown Gold Cup very impressively as well, just idle a little bit close. I think he's got a great each way chance. What about Shattered Love? To me, she's the forgotten horse. I'd give her a shout each way at a big price. Wasn't right after that run at Christmas time here. She unusually negatively ridden that day as well. I think they'll make a bit more use of her at Cheltenham. Yeah,
I'd say they certainly will, and she's coming off a bit of a break, and she probably is the forgotten horse. But the one they're all talking about is Presenting Percy and having his unique school around Galway at the weekend.
The less he runs, the more he's talked about. I think that's
exactly,
the way it works.
And I think it's everyone's just so fascinated because Pat Kelly won't talk to the press, and his owner Albert Reynolds is doing a great job talking to everyone, trying to keep everyone happy. But it's going to be very. Philip. Sorry, got it. But Philip is doing a great job, and it's going to be some training performance if he can win the Gold Cup with not having run over fences since last Cheltenham.
Yeah, how much of a drawback is that in your opinion, if any?
I think it's a big drawback. I wouldn't be really with him at all, because I just think he's going to, even though he ran in the Galmoil and he was good and he was impressive, but he's going to lack that sharpness and quality of running in grade ones. It's going to be a tough run race, the Gold Cup. There's going to be nowhere to hide.
Yeah, I think we're hoping it might be an Irish winner, guys. Got some good chances in there. Kate likes Bells Hill, who I think will run very well. Shattered Love at a big price, but it's Presenting Percy for me.
Kate, Gary, thank you very much indeed. Plenty of cases to be made for any number of horses in the Magners Gold Cup. Quick look at the betting before we finish this part. 4-1 about Clan Des Obeaux and Presenting Percy. Last year's winner, Native River. 6s, 10s, Ken Boy, 12s, Bells Hill and Might Bite, who we're yet to talk about perhaps in a few moments' time. Welcome back to the final part of our Cheltenham Festival preview. We're just going to recap the Gold Cup very quickly before we look at the rest of Friday. Clan Des Obeaux and Presenting Percy at the top of the market, but any number down the bottom to talk about. Frodon, if he goes to this particular race. Annabelle Fly, we know that Dave likes. Thistlecrack, who's going to get to a Gold Cup, hopefully. Album Photo, Might Bite, we didn't even touch on, Dave. This time last year went in as favourite.
Yes, indeed. And he travelled with ominous ease, didn't he? Is when he took the running, when he took up the running at the second last. If you'd said, right, stop the race now, the winning distance here is 4.5 lengths, you'd say, right, well, it's that one on the outside that wins it, obviously, because the other one is having his ears scrubbed off. And in fact, the winning distance was 4.5 lengths, but it was the other way around because Might Bite didn't really come up the hill on rain-softened ground. I think it's quite interesting. He's a horse that I think many of us thought once he's lost his form, he won't rediscover it. But Nicky Henderson has been very, very positive about him over the last couple of weeks, and he certainly would be a horse that I think on quicker ground would be of some interest. I thought Road to Respect was another one, to be honest, at a bigger price. I tipped him last year. He went round on rails and then he didn't come up the hill. Noel Meade said that he might just be a stronger horse and a better stayer this time around. But Might Bite, certainly the Bush Telegraph from Seven Barrows has been very, very positive recently.
Has indeed had the wind tweaked. Another to go to Newbury the other day. Bigger prices. Nigel Twiston-Davies thinks Bristol de Mile run a good race. Shattered Love. Gordon Elliott said all she'll do is stay. Last year's JLT winner. Who else makes it into the mix?
Well, I just like Bells Hill. I've mentioned him already.
Yeah.
I think he comes into it on the back of a career best performance, jumps, stays, and it may not be a Gold Cup that takes as much winning as some Gold Cups.
Looks very open one.
Yeah, I think it looks as competitive as any.
It's competitive, but I don't think it's as top class as
Ken Boyd to win it, Annabelle Fly to stay on into third.
But just very quickly, in that sense, it is competitive, but there is a doubt about every horse. Like Presenting Percy needs to improve. Clan Des Obeaux, the track. Native River, quicker ground might be vulnerable. Ken Boyd had his own way at Leopardstown, albeit that he's improving.
Hence why I don't
then necessarily
think it's going to take as much winning in ratings terms.
There's not one
some renewals.
That old cliche about a tick in every box. There's not one horse in that market, is there, that you'd say, well, there are no question marks about him.
No, the reason why I like Bells Hill as a bet in the race at double figures is because I do think he's very likely to run to his rating, and it might well prove to be good enough because of those doubts about other horses.
Okay, right. We will recap our Cheltenham thoughts right at the end. We're going to get straight